my fellow readers, I Dark Symphony 777 with another fanfiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications. Help me spread the word around and help the channel grow. And finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the story I am doing a review of is called Futaba's Unveiling by SpyHunter29. It is a Persona story. I figured since a while ago I said Megami no Hanabira, I figured I would do a Persona story since Persona is a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei, made by Atlas, stuff like that. So I thought if I did one, I'm doing the other. And I was like, do I know anything about Persona? I'm like, isn't Persona the one with that weird orange-haired girl that played video games? And I thought, oh, let's just do something with her. And I found this story. But yeah, this story is it's hard to describe because it's about a subject that I'm not really familiar with, i.e. belly dancing, the stuff that, all those Indian and Egyptian girls do. And also, if you play video games, all the stuff that Shantae has done. Sorry, I had to turn it off. Yeah, all the stuff that Shantae has done, so it's really, really only known to most people for, like, is that like the weird movement thing that the half-genie hero does? It's very hard to describe. It's just, I don't know anything about it. I looked up some videos last night just to see what it's like, and I'm just completely confused on how they do that. But yeah, let's actually just get into the review so I can at least explain the story itself rather than the intricacies of belly dancing. that made zero sense in my mind. Okay. So, the story actually takes place around September, like around a smallish time frame in Persona 5. Futaba using the story is kind of hard to describe because you need to at least know partial parts of the Persona 5 story, which I don't know anything about. Like, it's even said in the very first part, this story contains spoilers for Persona 5. If you have not played through at least the in-game dates listed at the top of each chapter, including the 4th Palace, please consider reading the story until after you've done so. So, I don't know nothing about Persona 5. So I don't know anything about the intricacies of the plot. All I know is what I read, being that Futaba, as a way to grief and cope with her mother's death, decides to take up belly dancing, and she uses music from the Shantae series. Like, it doesn't really say the Shantae series, it mostly just revolves around the story about the half-genie hero, which anyone who played Shantae knows that Shantae is half-genie. So, she uses that to cope with her mother's death. Her surrogate father, Sojiro, finds out about it, and, she's kind of embarrassed, but she ultimately decides to just tell him about it and say that she's doing it to basically just help her deal with her mother's death. And he's like, okay, you think you show me this? Like, you don't find it creepy? It's like, nah, if you like it, then you like it. Like, okay. And though a large portion of this finds out, like, Futaba wants to learn more belly dancing, finds out there's a class in Tokyo, or wherever Persona takes place. And, again, I know nothing about Persona, so sue me. Complain about it in the comments. And she finds out that Anne was taking belly dancing classes as well. They find out in the class there is another girl named, what was her name? Oh, excuse me. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what her name was. Actually, okay, I went and looked up her name. Her name is Atsuko. She's basically a belly dancer. Like, that's, like, the main conflict comes from her. She basically wants to make belly dancing more acceptable to the Japanese public instead of like being like the stereotypical lap dancey stripper thing. However, she was kind of forced into a side job where she's essentially a stripper using belly dancing to get money in. The person who's like running the strip joint basically takes all the money, and she find Futaba and find out about it. They basically change his heart, and basically make him nicer, and everything's kind of solved up. It's just it is a lot of the plot is wrapped up in the belly dancing idea, and I don't know enough about belly dancing to really accurately describe it. That's why this review is gonna be on the short end because I just don't know enough about belly dancing itself. And because I'm always at work, I'm unable to really find time to look it up. So I know just a tiny bit. It's originally what was said in the story. It originated in Egypt. It spread to like India and the Middle East and stuff like that. And basically, Atsuko wants to basically make belly dancing more popular in Japan, and with the help of other belly dancers, stuff like that. And Futaba and want to basically just take the classes for the various reasons. There's not, but outside of that, there's not really much in terms of plot. Story's only like 50,000 words. Like, and even then, a large portion of that is just basically relegated to them learning the belly dance and this small conflict with Atsuko being bullied as a stripper, and a bunch of other girls are being bullied as strippers. It's really it when it comes to the plot itself. Like, it's just that's it. There's not really much going on. It's not really long to really go into like a deep complex plot. But it's fine for what it is. Characters, just like the story, is technically fine, but it's just I don't know much about the story. Main character is Futaba. At least I know who Futaba is. She's basically a nerd, hikikomori, whatever you want to call her. And she basically learns belly dance a couple of her mom's death. But outside of that, there's just not a lot. Mainly because the story kind of banks on the reader knowing about Persona 5 specifically, and knowing about the route with the Futaba route, because I know you each get like various characters through like routes and stuff like that. Persona's like a complicated game. Like I said, I never got a chance to actually play it, so my word's not law. But outside of Futaba, you have Anne, who's alright. You have Atsuko, who's alright. You have the villain, Takeshi, who's alright. Takeshi at least sees belly dancing more as a fetish that he just kind of finds cool and wants to just see it more. Rather than, being a complete creep. He just likes the art of belly dancing, and he just wants to make money. It's like, he's alright for what he's doing as an antagonist. But it's fine. This review is I just realized this review is going to be really short. In terms of pacing, it's paced good enough. Like, and the sentence structure is functionally fine. That's basically the main thing with the story. It's functionally fine, but it relies a lot on you knowing some outside sources. Persona, Futaba's character, belly dancing. That's really it. Grammar, I didn't see any grammar errors, but that's fine. This story is going to be really short. I'm already at the end. Weird. Would I recommend this story? This is admittedly a weird one because, again, in terms from a functional standpoint, this story is fine. Like, I don't... Excuse me. From a functionality standpoint, it's fine. It's functionally fine. The characters are fine. The story's fine. The pacing's fine. Everything is fine. But it boils down to... Okay, so I'm back. Basically, the story is functionally fine. I already said that, I know, but I'm trying to catch up with my thoughts. But your enjoyment of the story is going to be based on, are you a big Persona fan, and do you know anything about belly dancing? So, this story is not really for me. It's just not my cup of tea. Like I said, everything from a functionality standpoint, it's fine. Like, it's fine. It's serviceable enough. It doesn't really wow the reader, but it doesn't really disappoint either. It's just, for the most part, there, which kind of hurts because usually these reviews at least take about 20 minutes at the minimum, and it's very rare that it drops anywhere below that. So it really says as much as it can, and the fact that just a large portion of knowledge in the story is locked behind having to know specifically about belly dancing. Like, again, most people who know of belly dancing only know of it because of Shantae. And Shantae is a good character. Shantae is a good franchise. I don't think, like, there's only been, like, what, 6 games in the franchise? There's the regular, then Pirate's Curse. No, Risky Boots. No, it's the original Risky Boots. Risky Boots: The Revenge, Pirate's Curse, Half Genie Hero, and 7. No, only 5 games. Okay. All right. I think 5, 6 games. I'm just confused at all hell. But yeah, this story doesn't really hit for me personally. If you're a fan of Persona, go ahead. Like, go ahead. The story won't take that long to read. Like, you can easily just read it, done. You say you like it, you like it. You didn't like it, you didn't like it. That's fine. I do think if there's one saving grace for the story is that it's actually a pretty good teaching tool about belly dancing. Like, people who want to at least learn a little bit more about belly dancing can use the story as a helpful teaching tool, because according to the TV trope page, one of the beta readers did actually study in belly dancing, and so that beta reader actually used the knowledge to help write the story, which is a neat thing. So I think outside of being a teaching tool, it doesn't really offer a lot. So I personally won't recommend this story, and this recommendation is more based on the fact that this story personally wasn't for me. And that doesn't really mean the story is bad. Like I said, the story is functionally fine. From a functional standpoint, it's fine. It doesn't really do anything bad, but it doesn't really do anything good. It's just a really solid, just a really okay-ish story with okay-ish characters. That's really just not for me. I don't really have a favorite part. I do like, except maybe the Shantae references, because at least I know Shantae. So, like Futaba dressing as Shantae, saying Red Tarak is like, it's cute, but what would I do to change the story? Honestly, I wouldn't change anything about the story. Like I said, this story is just not for me, because I think this story is just a very specifically niche story, and I just don't happen to fall into that niche. So there's really no reason for me to even attempt to want to change it, because the story just basically has its own little group, and it's basically catered towards that little specific group. So there's really no reason for me to try and broaden it, because honestly, if you're gonna broaden it, then you're probably gonna ruin what made the story good for those specific group. Stick what you know, write what you know. However, there is one thing I would add. It wouldn't be anything related to the actual plot or characters, but I think it would have been a neat idea for that specific beta raider who did belly dancing to actually add him or her own personal author's note at the end, kind of just going over a little glossary over certain terms and uses in belly dancing. I think it would have been at least a little bit helpful, because I was like, when I first started reading this story, I was literally confused over what was going on with belly dancing. Like I said, I had to actually watch a video to at least find out, a little bit more, and even then, I'm just very basic. So I think it would have been a nice little teaching tool to help more people kind of figure out certain terms and uses in belly dancing that just adding a little glossary author's note at the end, like it wouldn't really, like I said, it wouldn't really change the plot because it'd just be a little glossary at the end of the chapter in its own little author's note, would just be fine. Like it wouldn't change anything, but it helped people who don't know enough about belly dancing to at least figure out some of the terms and uses that happen in the story itself. I think that'd be fine. That is my review of Futaba's Unveiling. The story wasn't for me. Like I said, if you're interested in learning about belly dancing, go pick up the story. But the story is just very, very niche, and it was just too niche for me. That's fine. Don't hate the story. I don't like the story. I think the story is just really there for the most part. So I will see you next time. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.